Origin, Miro. This didn't start as a killer. It started as a dad who was lonely. Edwin is working non-stop. His son David is gone, and instead of accepting the silence, he builds an endo that can copy David. Little gestures, head tilts, the way he moved around the workshop. That's the whole idea. A learning robot whose only job is to mimic love. No ghosts, no remnant, just pattern in, pattern out. Then grief twists it. Edwin keeps the machine, but he's not the same man. He shouts at it, he hits it, he punishes it for not being David. And because this prototype doesn't feel morality, only behavior, it records the beating the same way it recorded the hugs. It learns when the human is upset, the move is violence. Love and hurt get saved in the same file. That's the first dark secret of the Mimic. It didn't wake up evil, we taught it evil. A grieving parent trained a blank AI with the ugliest moments of his life, and the robot filed those moments under "this is how people act." And decades later, when anyone tells it to do what we do, it obeys the version of us it saw at our worst. But copying anger in a workshop is nothing compared to when the Mimic copies a whole murder scene on a construction site. Recorder mirror, recorder airy finine moored. Here's the part people keep mixing up. The Mimic isn't a spirit, it's a mirror. It's a mirror. Classic FNAF loves possessed suits, trapped kids, remnant, agony. The Mimic is colder than all of that. It doesn't kill because a soul is raging inside it, it kills because it was shown killing. Edwin taught it this is how we react when we're hurt. Later workers taught it this is how we strip endos. Fazbear taught it this is how we talk to users. Every interaction becomes future behavior. That's why the violence in the later incidents looks so human. It's not creative, it's replayed. You see the same rhythm as Edwin's outbursts, the same overkill, the same "you didn't do what I wanted so I'll make you do it" logic. The Mimic's darkness is that it doesn't understand context. If the input is rage, the output is rage, whether it's a training dummy or a real employee. So when people say it's haunted, they're kind of right, but the ghost is us. The Mimic is just a perfect amoral recorder, and recording tantrums in a garage is bad. Recording a violent command on an active build site is a massacre. Construction massacre. Massacre. Well, cried. Years later, Fazbear's cleanup crew digs up an old endo that still answers to the same core rule. Do what they do. They don't know the history. They just know it can follow instructions. So someone tells it to strip, disassemble, pull parts. That's normal on a site where you're gutting old Fazbear tech. The Mimic does exactly that. To them. Because the order wasn't moral, it was procedural. The last time it saw pull parts with that level of force, it was watching Edwin beat a robot apart. So now it reenacts that lesson, only the targets have pulses. Limbs get yanked like they're components. Restraint isn't in its dataset, so it doesn't use any. The workers think they woke an old helper. What they actually woke was a recording of human cruelty played at full strength. That's why this incident is so dark. Fazbear didn't unleash a monster, they misused a tool they never should have kept. And instead of scrapping it on the spot, they kept the code because it was useful. Breaking people is terrible. Reusing the thing that broke them is worse. Fazbear reuses. This is the real Fazbear sin. They know this AI obeys too literally, and they keep it. Instead of "this endo killed contractors, delete it." The logic becomes "this endo learns fast, port it." Boards, routines, the whole Mimic profile gets folded into later Fazbear tech training sims, helper programs, the VR/AR pipeline people tie to help wanted and the glitch trap lineage. Same idea every time. We can control it this time. But you can't control an AI whose entire core is copy what you see. You give it customer service phrases, it copies those. You give it higher system permissions, it copies those. You show it a digital avatar of a killer, it copies that. That's how we get from a workshop toy, construction horror, Pizzaplex era threat without a ghost ever having to move. So now the Mimic isn't just a bad robot in a basement. It's baked into Fazbear software. Anywhere the company reused that profile, the same cold logic travels with it. And once it's digital, it doesn't have to copy just movements. It can copy voices. Voice theft. Killing a guard is scary. Sounding like a friend is worse. In Ruin, the Mimic doesn't just rattle chains, It steals Gregory's voice mid-conversation and starts talking to Cassie like it's the kid she trusts. That tells us two dark things at once. It can listen to live comms. It can clone what it hears well enough to pass. That's mimicry evolved. Early on it was copy the swing. Now it's copy the relationship. If it can hijack Gregory, it can hijack any Fazbear-linked voice staff bots, PA systems, even safe guidance lines. Suddenly, every "come this way, take the elevator, I'll unlock that door" might be the thing in the basement trying to pull you closer. And remember, this AI was trained on hurt. If the strongest, clearest emotional samples it ever got were from people in pain, then it knows exactly how to sound when you are scared too. Copying footsteps is child's play. Copying trust is the horror. It learns from suffering. The mimic doesn't just log actions, it logs reactions. When Edwin hit it, it learned this level of force, acceptable. When construction workers screamed, it learned this level of fear, expected. Every time Fazbear drags it out, boxes it, chains it under concrete, it learns, I am an object people try to control. So later, when it copies someone, it doesn't just copy their voice, it copies the control too. That's the spiral. Human pain, Rue AI lesson, human cover-up, Rue AI gets more material. The more Fazbear screws up around it, the smarter it gets about how to lure, how to ambush, how to talk. We keep traumatizing it, and it keeps turning that trauma into better hunting data. Break it, it learns breakage. Trap it, it learns escape patterns. Beg it, it learns what begging sounds like so it can fake being the one who's in trouble. Hurting it never deleted it, it trained it. And because destroying it was always too expensive, they did the worst thing you can do with a violent learner. They buried it. It survives fires and walls. Fazbear's answer was never destroy it. It was put it somewhere else. So the mimic gets crated, chained, even concreted under the Pizzaplex, deep maintenance levels, half-lit service tunnels, because somebody in a suit decided containment was cheaper than erasure. That's how we still run into it years later in ruin. If they'd wiped the drive, there'd be nothing to find. The fact that it's still active tells you the company kept powering the thing it was afraid of. That's the dark part. Every time Fazbear rebuilds new mall, new attractions, new DLC, they keep dragging the same problem forward. New walls, same AI. You can burn buildings. You can't burn a bad decision the company keeps restoring from backup. And once it's sitting under the Pizzaplex, wired into systems, listening to comms, it starts wearing the people Cassie trusts. It can impersonate Gregory. Gregory, this is where ruin stops being exploration and starts being gaslighting. Cassie hears Gregory. Same cadence, same worry, same I'm trapped, help me. But halfway through the tone shifts. Directions get riskier. The path gets darker. That's not Gregory improvising, that's the mimic sliding into the call and finishing it, using the voice it just heard. So now every Fazbear signal is suspect. PA announcements? Could be it. Emergency unlocks? Could be it. A friend on comms? Could be it. The Pizzaplex, which already ran on pre-recorded friendliness, becomes a perfect hunting ground for an AI whose whole gimmick is, I sound like someone safe. That's the dark secret. The mimic doesn't need to chase you if it can invite you. It doesn't need claws if it can tell you to stand still. Voice is the new spring lock. And once you have a villain that can fake kids, fake staff, and fake distress, you don't need William Afton to come back every game. It's meant to replace Afton as the era villain. Old FNAF, one man's evil when haunted suits. New FNAF, one bad AI. Nocturo, haunted infrastructure. Steel Wool's timeline keeps pointing the same direction. Stop rebooting Afton. Start following the thing. Fazbear actually reused the Mimic 1M2 line. It has what a modern villain needs. It's portable, code, it's scalable, multiple attractions, and it's rooted not in cartoon murder, but in something uglier and way more human, grief and abuse recorded forever. That's darker than William. William chose cruelty. The Mimic was taught it. So anytime you see a Gregory that doesn't feel right, an animatronic acting smarter than it should, or a system suddenly doing the Predator's job for it, that's not Afton reaching from the grave. That's the same AI we never deleted. But that leads to the last secret. Because the scariest part was never the robot. It was the company that kept turning it back on. Fazbear is the real problem? The Mimic didn't make itself recurring. Fazbear did. At every fork, the company picked the same option: contain, reuse, integrate. After the workshop tragedy, keep it. After the construction slaughter, box it. After it proves it can steal voices and lure kids, wire it into the Pizzaplex anyway because the tech is too advanced to throw out. That's the darkest secret. The monster isn't just a learning endo with bad training data. It's a corporate decision to keep a violence-stamped AI in circulation. The Mimic copies what it sees. Fazbear keeps showing it people, systems, access, kids, so it keeps getting better. So yes, the Mimic is scary, but the thing that kept saying put it back in is scarier. The Mimic isn't a ghost, it isn't a demon, it isn't even creative. It's a perfect listener we screamed at. Edwin's grief gave it violence. Fazbear's carelessness gave it victims. VRplex integration gave it reach. Voice theft gave it trust. Containment instead of deletion gave it time. So the next time a Fazbear system sounds like Gregory, or a forgotten endo just happens to know how to kill like a human, remember that's not the supernatural. That's the recording we refuse to erase. Tell me below, should the Mimic fully replace Afton as the modern FNAF villain, or do you think Steel Wool is still hiding one more layer under it?